about 4 things that have really resonated with me over the past week, things that I'd love to share with you, and hopefully you can take one thing or two and run with them. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to share is sometimes when you have fear, when you are scared, the best thing you can do for yourself is just to dive right in. So for me, I was swimming last week and I realized that when I am scared, I usually just stand by the wall of the pool and I look at where I'm supposed to go and I think to myself, oh my god, this pool is so long. This distance that I'm gonna swim is so long. What if I make a mistake? What if I don't breathe properly? What if I embarrass myself? What if I don't kick properly? What if I don't move my hands? What if I humiliate myself? All the what ifs that are negative would just bombard my head. And I realized that the minute I just dive in and stop overthinking and just go, that really frees so much energy. And what I didn't realize is that also taking a decision takes a lot of energy, which is why it's very important that you decide a lot of things. You have a structure for yourself. It doesn't have to be strict, but like having a structure for yourself to know, for example, that okay, today this is what I'm going to be focusing on. This is what is important for me. If I'm going, for example, for a swim, I know that okay, I am going to do maybe um backstrokes for 10 laps, and then I'm gonna do maybe freestyle for 10 laps, and then I'm gonna do maybe the board for 10 laps. So having a structure really helps you to not have that decision fatigue, and I feel like this applies in many things or many aspects of life. Like for example, if you want to start eating healthy, you have to make it easy for yourself. You can make it easy for yourself by knowing that for breakfast I will always, not always, but most of the time, I'm going to have oats and maybe a scoop of whey, or I'm going to have eggs and sausage or whatever. But when you don't have to make a lot of decisions, that frees up so much of your energy. And when you are scared, most of the time the fear is just in your head. You just have to dive in. And this does not mean that you have to be reckless and do things that are going to get you hurt, but it means that you understand that most of the time fear is just in our heads. And when you know that and you dive in, you realize that things are not as bad as you had imagined in your head. And you also realize that there are people around you that are willing to help you, that are willing to assist you, that are there to catch you if you miss a step, that are there to support you, that are there to give you whatever that you need. And then the second point that I also wanted to share is something that I've heard from Stephen Furtick. I think that's his name. And what he says was, even in the worst time, God will be with us. And for me, it actually reminds me of the other time I went to my son's school and they were telling me that his handwriting is really bad. They can't see what he has written and he writes very slow. So they wanted me to sign something that they would submit to government, and then government would allow for him to have extra time and also to not be penalized because of the spelling. Because even also when I read his books, I would see that he understands what he's talking about, but the spelling is really bad. And I remember telling the teacher that I'm so scared. What if he fails? And I think most of the time I was worried about fees. Like, oh my God, I'm paying so much for his school fees. What if fails? What if he fails? What if he wastes the whole year? And the teacher looked straight into my eyes and said, what if he does fail? The sun will still go up. And I was like, oh my God. So realizing that even the worst possible situation is not going to kill you. God will always be with you. I feel like that has helped me so much when I go through difficult times, to know that even in the worst case scenario, God will still be there. Even if I make a mistake, even if I don't succeed in what I wanted, even if my prayers are not answered, even if I go through the darkest valley, I know that God will still be with me. And that is such a beautiful mindset to have, to know that even in the worst possible case, God is going to be there. Because I feel like with um, I don't like blaming the devil, but I feel like even with the enemy or the devil, sometimes it will highlight the negatives. It will highlight the worst case scenario. It will highlight what if it doesn't work out. What if you embarrass yourself? What if you humiliate yourself? What if it doesn't? Whatever what ifs that you have that are negative. What if you had this mindset that even if that is the case, I will be okay. Even if my prayers are not answered, God will be with me. And knowing that God is with me, for me, is a win, right? And then also, what I wanted to share is an analogy that I had recently that talks about the goals that we have set for ourselves, right? So, for example, let's say that you set a goal. um, for me, for example, my dream car is a Defender. I really love Defender with all of my heart, especially not even especially, the one that I want is the one that has something that looks like a ladder on the side, and it has something that looks like a box on the other side. And to be specific, it's black, it's beautiful. I've test driven it, and it made me so happy, and I would be so excited. I would be so happy to drive that car, right? So, what this analogy was saying is sometimes you have a goal. So, for example, let's say that I have this goal that I want a beautiful mate black Defender, right? And then as I'm driving to go get my Defender, I get distracted on the way, and I see a beautiful BMW. The BMWs that I knew right now are really beautiful, and now I'm thinking, oh my God, I really love a BMW. And then as I'm driving again, I see a different kind, Audi. I've always loved an Audi before, and then I'm like, oh, I'd love to have an Audi. And then now I always think maybe God is confused, like, girl, what do you want? Do you want a Defender? Do you want a BMW? Do you want an Audi? Do you want a Mercedes? What car do you want? And so this analogy was saying that imagine that you are going to a place, right? And then as you're going to this place, you see obstacles on the way, or you see things that distract you, and then you look in that direction, and then you don't get to your destination. So let's say, for example, you are driving from Johannesburg to Pretoria, right? You know that, okay, I want to go to Pretoria, so my Pretoria for me is my Defender, right? And then you drive there, and then when you are in Midrand, you see an Audi. So you see something that distracts you, and then now you're like, do I really want to go to Pretoria, or I'm not sure. The next thing, now you turn back to Johannesburg. So if you focus on your goal, you need to understand that there will be distractions on the way. And when I'm talking about this goal, I'm not talking about a car. I'm talking about anything that you want in life, whether it is maybe getting a degree for yourself, or maybe, I don't know, buying a house for yourself. There will be distractions on the way. And if you are, for example, looking to buy a house, distractions might be times where you feel like you are in debt, where you feel like you are not sure if you can afford the house that you want or not. Whatever the distractions are, you need to tell yourself that I am going to Pretoria. I am going to that goal that I have for myself. And it does not matter what distractions I see on the way. I am so focused on where I'm going, and I will not let anything distract me. And the way we let things distract us is you pray for something, and then you have faith for that thing that you're looking for, and then you speak to your friends about the thing that you're looking for, and then your friends start planting doubts in you. They start telling you, who do you think you are to want that? Or they're like, no one has ever achieved that in your life. And then all of a sudden you are discouraged, and you want to go back to Johannesburg instead of going straight to Pretoria where you are going. So it's very important that you focus on where you're going, you focus on your goals, and you tell yourself that I am going there no matter what it takes, no matter how long it takes. And do not allow doubt, do not allow fear to creep in and stop you from where you're trying to go. Okay. And then another thing that I wanted to share is you need to learn to be flexible with your beliefs. For me, this one was quite personal. I'm not gonna share the personal story. I don't think I'm ready as yet. But you need to be flexible with your beliefs, because sometimes you believe something and you really believe it with all of your heart that this is how it is. And then one day something or life proves to you that this belief that you've always had is not really true. So you need to learn to be flexible with your beliefs, be willing to change your beliefs, be willing to change something that is not working for you. Someone said something that was really powerful, that the broke people are the most stubborn people when it comes to learning how to build wealth. And I think I might be one of the people that are stubborn, but for me, I have realized with my friends that have a problem with losing their weight, right? They are so stubborn. It doesn't matter how many times I tell them that, okay, if you want to lose weight, you need to do ABC. They will not listen to that. They are so stuck into their ways and into their beliefs, and they're not willing to even give my different beliefs a try. Like, I have this friend of mine who really does not believe in gym. He hates gym, and he's like, gym doesn't work. And if you have a belief in something, nothing will ever change. If you don't believe that gym is going to change your life, it is not going to change your life. If you don't believe that, let's say, what example can I make? But if you don't believe something, it will be like that. If you don't believe that you will ever be able to do something, you won't be able to do something, because our brains, they are very loyal to our identity. They are very loyal to the things that we believe. So if you don't believe something, then it will never happen for you. But if you believe in something, then it will be really difficult for you to accept anything else, right? What else do I want to share? Okay, the last thing that I want to share before I go and have my before I go and have my breakfast is um this one is something that I've heard from a movie that I watched recently. I think the name of the movie was A Star Is Born. It was something that was shared by, I think that guy is Brad Cooper. I don't know his name, but he was showing to Lady Gaga, who was struggling to go out there and share his voice to the world. And he said, everyone is talented, right? All of the people that you see around here are talented, but what makes you different is your story. What makes you unique is your story, or how you want to share your voice. And I'm not saying it exactly how he said it, but the point of this is that, for an example, when I come here to YouTube to share my self-love journey, my self-improvement journey, it is not that the things that I'm saying are so unique that no one has ever said them. It is just the way I say them. It is just the story behind them. It is what they mean to me. So it's very important for you to love your story, to accept your story, to share your story, and know that your story is what makes you unique. For the longest time, I was so insecure about my accent. um, Even when I go to other places, people ask me, where are you from? Your accent is different. And I used to want to hide my accent. I used to want to change my accent, until I realized that my accent is my identity. It is part of where I come from. It is part of who I am. And when you go to the world and you hear people who speak different accents, who come from different backgrounds, you realize how powerful it is for you to accept and love yourself for who you are, not hiding anything about you, because your story, your background is what makes you unique. It is what makes you beautiful. It is what makes you one of a kind. And another thing that I actually wanted to share that I'm just thinking of right now is also someone said that, if, for an example, the president's son becomes, let's say they become a doctor, we won't be surprised. We won't be like, oh my god, what, wow. We'll be like, okay, of course they're coming from a family that is well off. They're coming from a family that did not struggle with anything, right? So we'll be like, of course they're gonna make it, of course they're gonna be um something that is amazing in the world. But if you are someone from the rural areas, someone where odds were just against you, where things were so difficult, but you pushed through and you told yourself that no matter what, I am going to be a doctor, no matter what, I am going to go and achieve my goals, that makes you so special, and that makes your story so beautiful, because people don't just want to connect with someone who has just made it. It is the story behind how you made it, how you've overcome all the obstacles, that makes you special. So you don't need to hide your story. You need to realize that your story is what makes you unique, and your story makes um, who you are and what you've achieved even more amazing. Okay, I'm going to leave my live here, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much for your time and your energy. I love you so much. Have a day as beautiful as you are.